I'd like to call the meeting to order. The Board of Leavenworth County Commissioners. I'd like to invite everyone to stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to start with a moment of silence, please. Our roll call, we'll start with Commissioner Culbertson. Here. Mr. Smith is present. Commissioner Stiebens. Here. Commissioner SCHIMKE.
Commissioner SCHIMKE is here.
And Commissioner KAAZ.
Commissioner KAAZ is here.
All commissioners are present in some form. Do we have anybody calling in on public comment today?
No, we did not have anybody notify us that they would like to call in today.
Okay. Then we'll move on to administrative business. Do you have any administrative business?
I have a couple of items. First of all, last week the board had given direction to staff to draft a letter to the governor about the statewide orders in relation to the COVID-19 response. I have provided you all with a copy of the letter, and just need one, if you have any changes, to let me know. If you don't, would need you to formally adopt that letter, I believe, and then all of you sign it before you leave today, and then Commissioner KAAZ, if you could come up at some point to sign it. That's on the letter. So any questions, concerns, comments about it?
It looked good. Everybody's had a chance to look through the letter, and everything's good. All right. Okay. And I'll entertain a motion to
just send that letter.
Sign it or send it.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to forward the letter to the governor's office. Is there any further discussion and voting?
Aye.
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 Commissioner KAAZ. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Commissioner KAAZ votes aye.
Commissioner SCHIMKE votes aye.
All right. Thank you.
The other item I have is just a reminder, as the the stay-at-home order that was lifted on Monday, the county had provided some guidance on appropriate ways to respond. Obviously, the state still has some restrictions put in place, but we've had people maybe call in, or other people have seen things on social media. Because we've lifted restrictions on our end, doesn't mean that the COVID virus doesn't still exist and it's not out there. People should still be following best practices. They should stay at home when they can. Avoid unnecessary travel. If you're an at-risk population, you should definitely stay at home when you can. If you're out and about, masks may be an annoyance, but they are recommended, and they're not necessarily to protect you as much as to protect other people. So it's just the polite thing to do. With that, that's really all I had to say. Is just we still have an issue. Please still be safe and be considerate of others. And like I said, the whole unnecessary travel, and if you don't feel safe going out, don't go out. It's just, you don't have to go to these places just because they're open. But I'd still encourage everyone to support local business. As you know, like I said, we're not through this yet, but we're gaining. We're getting in the steps in the right directions, but we don't want to have to step backwards either. So everybody needs to do their part.
I had a thing yesterday. I went to the eye doctor, and because of the railroad, I go out of state, the state of Missouri. So until the 18th, the rule is that if you've gone out of state at all, I had to reschedule my eye doctor appointment.
Okay.
So that's just a point of information. If you've been out of the state and you have an appointment till after the 18th, you're probably going to have to reschedule that.
Okay.
If the appointment's between now and the 18th or 17th.
I'm sure you'll get by.
All right. I hope my eyes will hold out that long.
There you go. Any other administrative business this time?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Then we'll move on to the consent agenda. Has everyone had a chance to look at all the items on the consent agenda, and is there anything that needs to be taken out and voted on separately, or any questions of any of the bills?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Schimke. I had one quick question. Just had an insurance policy and payment that I wasn't familiar with. Page 7, looks like it's equipment related. I don't know if it's state of Kansas or just was an expense that I hadn't seen before.
On page 7.
Like $107,000, I think is what I wrote down.
The can equip.
Oh, Can Equip. That's an equipment dealer.
I think what you're seeing
That was
for
the mower tractor, I believe.
What you're seeing on insurance paid is it was an insurance reimbursement. We purchased a piece of equipment to replace one that was totaled in an accident. It was the mower
Tractor that got hit last summer.
rear-ended last summer. So that's the only reason there's a reference to the insurance. It was a reimbursable expense.
Got it. Okay, thank you. That was all I had.
All right, and any other questions? And I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second on the consent agenda. Any further discussion? And voting?
Aye.
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 Commissioner KAAZ votes aye.
Commissioner Schimke votes aye.
Thank you. All right. Oh, I'm on the wrong page here.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, I had a question
All
about
right.
all of the items on today's agenda. Considering the possible budgetary situation that the county might be in, would it be prudent for us to push these off till after we do our budget and come back to these particular issues?
Like in August?
Yeah, after.
Would you say August?
August or September. You typically approve the budget in August, so I think the concern is a valid one. We do not know yet what our revenue streams will look like. Obviously, there will be an impact, but we aren't sure yet what those will look like. So it may be prudent for outside expenditures like this to be reconsidered or held off on until after we get a little further along in the budget year. The only one that I would say is probably an exception to that is the special Parks and Rec funds. Those are specifically required to be spent on those types of expenditures. So if the board wanted to proceed with those today, I don't think it would create a budget problem for us because that money's already here and it has to be spent on those types of items. The other funds are all general fund items, and so those would probably make sense to hold off on.
And I think the nature of those specific items that they're asking for is time sensitive, like their ball team.
Right.
I know a couple of them are for youth ball teams, so they need that money to get started like last week. So maybe we could break it up and only do the ones that we can do later.
Are there a lot of?
Well, they come out of the
teams?
alcohol fund? Is that what or is that a?
It comes out of Special Parks and Rec. Currently, you have a little over $17,000 in that fund, and I see a request of currently $14,000 has been requested.
Yeah, I think one of the items that was in the packet, we got an updated number. One of the agencies originally had requested $10,000, and they reduced that down to $14,000. That was the American Legion, is that correct?
Yeah, the American Legion originally had, American Legion 23 had originally requested $10,000. But due to boys state, girls state, some of the activities that they helped the participants pay have been canceled. And so we did receive a phone call, and they did reduce that to $4,000 for American Legion post number 23.
And then Janet, on the Leavenworth Youth Football Association, is there a reason that we didn't put that under Special Parks and Rec? Is that for something other than?
The only reason we did it like this is that was the way it was funded last year, because
Because we'd ran out of money in Special Parks. So that one probably could be moved down into Special Parks then. You said there's approximately $17,000 in special parks now?
There's 17,000
So
right now.
if we move that one down into special parks, that would put us right at what the money is available in special parks, the 17,000.
You have to remember,
Requested.
though,
Don't want to deplete that fund completely.
well, 17,000, that fund was depleted quite a bit last year. And the money comes in through distributions, and I don't know that you would totally, it's up to the board, but I don't know if you would totally want to deplete that fund, because let me tell you, it will not build up $17,000 next year. Maybe you'll get $10,000 in there through distributions.
But it can't be spent on anything else.
No,
It has
it
to be
can't be
spent on
spent
these
on
types of
anything else.
things.
It's
So-
just, it's entirely up to the board.
So the
Mark and
last,
Janet, this is Commissioner Schimke. Quick question. These were budget line items, last fall specific to, 2020 expenditures, and I'm not going to suggest that every one of these organizations, it's critical that these funds are received and/or it, would dramatically impact their operations. However, it could. Committing dollars and then withdrawing those dollars while we still don't know what the impacts of 2020 and the pandemic are going to be. I think we've all recognized and forecasted that those impacts are likely, 2021 and beyond, just because of how ultimately the county is funded. And for example, unlike some of the other municipalities, we've talked about how, projects are likely impacted by, say, sales tax generation. Operationally, the county is not impacted. And so I could absolutely see a scenario where the funding is reduced or in lots of cases eliminated going into 2021 based on the results of the 2020 pandemic. But pulling these funds from committed organizations last minute when that financial impact hasn't been realized seems to be exacerbating the problem, at least for those entities, while maybe helping to solve some of ours. But when you just think about the timing of it, am I on the right track, or am I?
Well,
This-
one of the things, Commissioner, they're not actually committed. We budget for a $50,000 expenditure, but they're not committed to any of these agencies or organizations. That's why they're making their request now. That's just kind of the process with these. The other thing is that if we move forward today, which is totally at the discretion of the commission, there are requests for in excess of double what was actually budgeted. So,
Yeah, I'm only talking about what was budgeted, not anything incremental to. I would hope everybody would realize that if you're asking more for what you've asked for and or been awarded in the past, then in light of the current health crisis and economy, that's likely not going to be successful.
But, this doesn't mean that we're not going to award these things to a lot of these organizations if we push it off, unless there's a specific one. I don't know which ball clubs are actually going to be playing ball, or those kind of things.
Well, that's a
but-
separate fund, though.
Yeah, so unless there's something that's time sensitive, it seems to make sense to push it off till after our budget is done and then come back to it and make a final decision then.
I think the youth programs are time sensitive, though. Would you agree? I mean,
Well, if some of them maybe.
and then that's a separate fund.
Yeah,
That it's not a general fund item.
well, that's the one Mark's talking about on the,
Yes.
yeah, with the exception of those, the
Okay.
others, historical societies.
And then when will we get our numbers from this quarter? How sales tax came through? What month will it be
Well-
finalized?
I looked the other day, and I hadn't noticed any reduction, but there again, if you're making those quarterly payments, we will not see a lot of that possibly until August,
Okay.
Every month, we receive
Right.
the sales tax, but I did go back and had currently not noticed a reduction in,
so far we've only received March's, which would be it wouldn't have
The
been
beginning.
impacted much because
Right.
we were well into March before anything
We'll be
changed.
getting
so.
April here, pretty quick, and, but I just hadn't noticed it for the first 3 months anyway.
Okay.
But, Chad's right, you guys did budget $50,000 in 2020 when we did the budget, and so, as Mark indicated, you could certainly disperse that now, or you could wait. But you did commit $50,000 to the museum fund. You committed $50,000 to a BOC contribution. And then the other, as Doug and Jeff have mentioned, is Special Parks and Rec, which is entirely funded through distributions from alcohol sales.
And last I looked, there's like $17,000 in that account. So I was going to suggest we put the Historical Society items on hold until we figure out what's going on with their virus problems on the budget. But the last 3, H, I, and J, are the youth activity groups. So if there's $17,000 in there, their total asking amount was $23,000. So if we prorated that by the $17,000, that would give Leavenworth Youth $23.80, American Legion $73.10, and Easton Youth $73.10.
The
Actually,
American Legion number 23, remember, did send in and only asked for $4,000.
they amended their
They
request.
changed theirs.
They did amend that.
Okay. So just adjust it, but still same idea though, as we go ahead and fund.
They would all 3 be able to get fully funded because that
Okay.
would bring it right to the 17,000.
Okay. But still, my idea is, since they're time sensitive, fund the youth groups right now, today, but put the historical items on hold, just table those until we figure out where we're at with the rest of the budget.
Is that your motion?
Yeah.
Second?
Have a motion and a second on the funding of the youth programs, or
Commissioners, so the ones on the phone, in case you didn't hear it, I'll kind of restate the motion if it's okay. Commissioner Culbertson has made a motion that we fund the 3 youth programs out of special alcohol. That would be the Leavenworth Youth Football Association, the American Legion Post 23, and the Easton Youth Activity Association at the levels they're requesting, which would total $17,000, and that the county museum request be tabled until later in the year.
and I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Voting.
Aye.
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 Commissioner Cobb votes aye.
Commissioner Schimke votes aye. I would add, though, can we reach out to those museums and historic societies and just see if one, in regards to timing of any fund request, it would be really great to find out, the critical nature of some of these requests, knowing that, we do have some budgeted dollars. I'm sure everybody can appreciate that we're being as frugal as we can, with knowing there's so many uncertainties in the 2020 revenue creation. But if there's something super, specific to those organizations, hopefully they'll be reopening soon. I realize many of them have been shut down and fall into the non-essential category, like liquor. So I think it'd be worth, having some dialogue or communication with them to find out how critical some of those funds may or may not have been before we revisit this fall.
I agree, and maybe we should all reach out to the ones in our areas. That's what I intended to do.
I did talk to Chris Roberts from the Tonganoxie Historical Society, and she understands the situation.
We took care of their roof, and that was critical. They needed a roof replacement on that, and they got that. And so the rest, like I said, it's just a work in progress. But we would certainly take into consideration, I would assume, if it was something, a building maintenance issue that needed attention, especially while they had the summer to work on it.
Right, this is Commissioner Schimke. That's exactly what I was trying to reference, Doug, is the gotta have versus nice to have.
Right.
There's obviously expenditures that can be delayed. Those are things we'd like to know. Others may be more critical in nature, so.
Yes.
I hope we get the economy going, and this will be non-issue.
Well, when you said the possible effects on our budget, I thought, wow, you're a glass half full type of guy. Because I don't think it's possible, Mark. I think it's real.
That's right.
So, anyways, okay, as I'd agree, everyone will reach out to the agencies in their areas. Okay? All right. We have, anything else on this?
That's all I had.
Okay. All right. Now, we have an executive session today.
In case anyone is listening, if you don't mind if I make a
Go
comment,
ahead.
Doug. Today, the advanced ballot applications will start arriving in people's mailboxes. And so if anyone has any questions, certainly they can call the office. There are applications in there for both August and November. There's also the declaration for if someone wants to change their party or declare a party, either Democrat or Republican, because they will have to declare in order to vote in the August primary election. So just kind of a heads up, they will start arriving in people's mailboxes.
Okay. And also, do not forget to fill out your census. That is so important to be counted, to get that census done. I just hope that this virus doesn't keep people from doing their census. Get out of your regular routines. But anyways, before we go on executive session, I guess we'll go down. Commissioner SCHIMKE or KAAZ, were you going to attend the fire district meeting on Friday?
Yeah, I was planning to Friday afternoon. This is Commissioner Schmidt.
Okay. Anyone else?
Well, Commissioner KAAZ will just remain at home if Commissioner SCHIMKE plans to attend.
Okay, so we got that. And then I had an email and a phone call from a U.S. Department of Labor regional rep. He covers Missouri, Kansas, and Nebraska. Was wanting to set up a meeting. So I intend to reach out to him, see what's going on there. And we got tomorrow, May 7th is the call for projects at Mid-America Regional Council, I believe, isn't it?
I'm not going to, I think that's right, but
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly. I know
Okay.
that our staff.
Well, I think there's a 10:30 meeting. You can go to go-to meeting.
Our staff is aware of any of the current openings, and they have 2 or 3 different programs that are opening on different dates. So, but we're aware of them, and Bill Knoll has made sure that we have people who can attend.
Okay.
Appropriately, of course.
It's go-to meeting.
Yeah.
And
This is Commissioner KAAZ. Has anyone made plans to attend the Port Authority meeting? I think it is.
that's the third. That's next week, I believe.
That's next week.
Yeah, that's next week.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Schmidt. I attended the last meeting they had via Zoom, and I planned on attending next week virtually as well.
Well, right, I had planned on it, but I wanted to make sure as I was putting my calendar together.
Okay, so Commissioner KAAZ and Commissioner SCHIMKE will do the Port Authority next week?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Correct.
All
Commissioner
right.
KAAZ.
And I'm sure Commissioners got a lot of phone calls about what is open and what is not, and what. The only one I couldn't answer was photography. I guess, I don't know whether it's outdoor photography, not studio, but.
I believe the governor's order says unless you're specifically listed as excluded, then you are exempt from any closure orders. If there is any question, I would advise them to contact the governor's office or the KDHE, because we're really not prepared to interpret the governor's orders.
Yeah, okay. And that was the right answer. And what else we got? Commissioner SCHIMKE brought up a good point earlier today about the farmers markets coming open and getting people connected with food suppliers, meat suppliers, stuff like that. It's in our county that or farmers that sell half beefs and stuff like that, because it looks like there's going to be a limited supply of meat with all the poultry and beef plants being closed, and they're starting to limit what you can purchase at the stores now. So I guess if we have people that sell from farm to table, we would like to have their information that we could share it with the residents of the county and farmers markets, and hopefully our farmers market down here can handle the amount of people that will probably be using their services this year. I think your farmers markets are going to be very popular places this summer. So
This is your KAAZ. From listening to the City of Leavenworth Commission meeting last night, the farmers market for this area is going to be doing drive-through beginning this Saturday morning. So
at the same location?
at the Haymarket Square, and they encourage people to go online and make their, put in their orders in advance to expedite the process, but they'll be driving through.
Okay.
How long will that last, Commissioner KAAZ? Do you know?
I believe, I didn't write it down, but I believe it is from 8 a.m., and it could be 7, until 11 a.m. But they do have it on the city Facebook page, the city's website, and then the farmers market for Leavenworth County. The farmers market page has the listing of the vendors that plan to be there and the produce or meat that they have available.
Okay. All right. We'll look at that. And then I'm sure all the commissioners got an email this morning about the zoning website updates on that. Does anyone want to address that?
Well, as we've responded in the past, the zoning subdivision guidelines are updated approximately quarterly. I mean, they're not on the specific date each quarter, but once during the quarter they're updated because changes are made on a very, well, I shouldn't say on a very regular basis, but regularly changes are made, and it's hard to keep up with them on a day-to-day basis. So we do that quarterly. That's why the subdivision guidelines on the very front page says the last date it was updated. So that's
Okay.
just there's nothing to be corrected there. It's just kind of an informational. That's why you're not seeing an up-to-date one today.
Okay. All right. Does any commissioners have anything else before we go to our executive session? Then I'll entertain a motion to go to executive session. You need it.
Yeah, there we go.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Thanks, Janet.
Thank you, Janet.
Thanks, Janet.
I move that
Thank you.
I move that this board recess for a closed executive session meeting for discussion of subject involving the legal interests of the county as justified by KSA 75-4319B2 for consultation with legal counsel for the board, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship, and that board resume open meeting at, how long we need?
Commissioner Culbertson, it should take 10 minutes, but give yourselves 15.
Okay. Resume open meeting at 9:45 in the meeting room of the board. President executive meeting will be Commissioners Culbertson, KAAZ, SCHIMKE, Smith, and STIEBEN, Senior County Counselor David Van Paris, and County Administrator Mark LOUGHRY.
Okay. Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Do we have to identify the two commissioners by phone in the meeting, or?
Well, actually, we may be able to have Commissioner SCHIMKE just step over here because he's in his office right now.
Okay.
And then I will call Commissioner KAAZ back on a secure line, since that's a conference line. We can't monitor who's on. So, Commissioner KAAZ, I will be calling you directly.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And, all right, so 15 minutes and a resume at 9:45. Okay. Voting.
Aye.
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 Commissioner KAAZ votes aye.
Commissioner SCHIMKE votes aye.
All right, thank you. interest of the county, no decisions were made. Does anybody have anything else? Then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second. Voting?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.